Pin, aka Pin, a Plastic Nightmare, is a 1988 psychological horror about a young man who becomes obsessed with an anatomical dummy who he believes is a real person. The film begins with a small group of young boys outside a large house looking through an upstairs window, which has a motionless figure sitting by the window. One of the boys ventures over to the window to get a closer peek, but stumbles backwards in fright when he sees the figure blink through the net in the window. We go back 15 years earlier, where a 7-year-old Leon Linden and his 5-year-old sister Ursula are the children of a well-to-do family. Their father is the town physician, and their mother, Mrs. Linden, Bumrell Mantle, is a clean freak who runs the house. So much so she forbids Leon from playing outside with other children from fear of getting the carpet dirty. Their father, Dr. Frank Linden, Terrier Quinn from the Stepfather and Lost TV series, keeps in his surgery office Pin, an anatomical dummy which resembles one of those visible man models, which happens to be life-sized. The doctor likes to talk to Pin, carry on conversations with him through ventriloquism for his child patients to put them at ease. Leon is wholly convinced that Pin is alive and a good friend, but Ursula not so much. When Leon is about 12, he sneaks into his father's office one day and starts to chat with Pin. He is interrupted by a nurse and hides behind an examination curtain. Leon is surprised to see the nurse lock the door and proceed to have sex with Pin. Leon becomes even more obsessed with Pin and slaps Ursula when she tells him that Pin is just a dummy. The pair are caught by their mother with an adult magazine, which is made even more awkward when their father uses Pin to explain sex and reproduction to the both of them. Years later, when the children are teenagers, Leon's only friends are Ursula and Pin. Leon, David Hewlett, is now using ventriloquism with Pin regularly and uses him to answer questions for advice like going away to university and other daily things. One night, Leon's father catches him at the surgery and is surprised to hear him talking to Pin. He upsets Leon by taking Pin away to be donated to a scientific society. While driving, his father is unaware of the construction signs he has passed due to becoming transfixed with Pin's image in the rearview mirror, causing him to crash the car, killing himself and his wife. Leon arrives at the scene of the accident and is sad but relieved that Pin is still okay. Ursula is upset that Leon has brought Pin into the house and dressed him in their father's clothes. From there on, Leon's obsession with Pin takes a dark turn and spirals out of control. Canadian actor David Hewlett, who is more known for playing Rodney McKay in the Stargate TV shows, pulls off a brilliant performance as Leon. So much so you really do feel for the character, that Leon himself is a victim of being an odd one in the community that he wants but he cannot be a part of. His isolation from reality is further explored, which makes him manifest his desires and aspirations in Pin. Cynthia Preston is excellent as the effervescent young Ursula who is caught between her desire for a normal teenage life and the growing realization that her brother is mentally ill. There are notable similarities between Pin and Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Both Norman Bates and Leon have split personalities, and in both films each of them channel their personalities through something. In Norman's case it's his mother's corpse, and of course with Leon it's an anatomical dummy. Each of the characters are convinced that the lifeless forms are alive. If reality threatens their illusion, the stronger side takes over. In both cases it's Norman's mother and Pin who are the dominant half. In Leon's case, since he was a child, his mother was a clean freak and his father was stern and cold towards his children. There was no love and sex was a taboo they were never allowed to mention. All these things accumulated caused Leon to be shy and has a lack of empathy towards others. All these give him a reputation of being the weird one in school, so he found solace in Pin and latched onto him in an unhealthy way. In Pin there are contrasts to be found between Leon and his younger sister Ursula, who is totally his opposite, wild and carefree. Where Leon is shy and evidently repulsed by human contact, Pin is inanimate and controlling, while Leon is mobile yet utterly at Pin's mercy. Pin was adapted from the novel of the same name by author Andrew Leiderman, whose later book, The Devil's Advocate, was also made into a film starring Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves. Sandor Stern, who both directed and wrote the screenplay, flirts with traumatic and other psychological effects on a person, as well as other genre staples, yet refuses to give in to them entirely. The result is an unusually intelligent and brilliantly acted psychological thriller. Pin has all the trappings you might expect from a fairly schlocky piece of horror. There's a creepy medical doll, ventriloquism, a remote house, and a sexually repressed character who harbours all kinds of strange and dark obsessions. To describe much more of Pin's story would merely deaden its impact, but it's sufficient to say that Sandor Stern's film expertly digs beneath the surface of its characters. Everything from Leon's precisely styled and parted hair to his rod-like posture to his choice of crisply ironed clothes betrays his troubled personality, having drifted from a traumatic childhood into grown-up life. Leon inherited his father's coldness and some of his mother's tidiness, but none of the skills he needed to survive in the adult world. Instead, he lives in a fantasy world of horrifying poetry and rambling conversations with Pin, who is voiced by Jonathan Banks, who starred in the acclaimed Breaking Bad series. Banks' creepy performance gives Pin a sort of strangled, high-pitched voice that is enough to inspire dread all on its own. Pin has Freudian undertones, particularly in some of its more comically macabre moments. There's also real humanity and dramatic depth. Throughout, Stern plays wonderfully at fulfilling some expectations and violently confounding others. As it is, Stern's use of slow dramatic build-up gives Pin a jab of real unease. It's a disquieting film, certainly, and to me it's more gratifying than your average horror film. It's rewarding and entirely unforgettable. Like the eerie stare of its titular doll, Pin is the kind of film that mesmerises from start to finish. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed my review of Pin. Have you seen it? Do tell me. If you haven't, do tell me as well. And if you're new to my channel, you can click subscribe and the notification bell so you can keep up to date with my latest videos. Thanks very much guys, and I'll catch you next time.